I never meant to open her journal. It was late, well past 2 a.m., and she hadn't come home yet. Again. Her phone went straight to voicemail, no texts. No working late excuse. No update. Just silence. And silence from Chloe was never a good sign. We'd been married for 6 years. The first 2? Bliss. The last 4? A slow-motion collapse, the kind you don't notice until the roof caves in and you're buried in it. That night, I paced the living room, half watching the door, half trying not to panic. I spotted her leather-bound notebook on the side table, the one she carried everywhere but never let me touch. I'd always respected her privacy, but that night felt different. Urgent. Like something was unraveling, and I needed to understand what. I wish I hadn't looked. The first few pages seemed normal, scattered to-do lists, work reminders. Then came entries. Not in her usual handwriting. Tighter. Angrier. He watches me while I sleep. Pretends he doesn't, but I feel it. I can't breathe when he's near. If I tell him what I know, I don't think I'll make it out. I should have left last year. Before the basement. The basement? I don't even go down there. At first I thought it was fiction, some weird writing exercise. But as I flipped further, the entries got darker. More personal. And they didn't sound like Chloe at all. He thinks I don't remember what happened to the last one. But I do. It's hidden behind the furnace. If he finds it, I'm dead. My blood ran cold. The last one? I closed the journal, heart pounding, head spinning. I had no idea what I just read, or who the hell had written it. But in that moment, one thing was painfully clear. My wife was gone. And I might not be the man she thought I was. Or worse, maybe I was. I couldn't sleep that night. Not after reading that journal. Not after seeing those words, the last one, behind the furnace. My thoughts spiraled. Had Chloe written those things? Was it a cry for help? Or a warning? I sat in the kitchen, every light on in the house, sipping cold coffee that tasted like metal. At 4:12 a.m., I finally went down to the basement. The air changed as soon as I stepped onto the bottom stair, heavier still, like something had been waiting for years to be disturbed. The furnace clicked on as I moved past it, and I jumped. I'd always hated this room. Never renovated it like the rest of the house. Just concrete walls, a cracked floor, and that smell of dust and rusted pipe. Behind the furnace was just wall. Cinder block. Pipes. Nothing out of place. Until I tapped one section, and it sounded hollow. I froze. My fingers traced the edge of what looked like an old vent cover, sealed with paint. I pried it open with a screwdriver and reached inside. A box. Cardboard. Taped. Covered in dust. Inside were Polaroids. Dozens. Of Chloe. But not ones I'd taken, ones I'd never seen. Her sleeping. Showering. Crying. Sometimes with bruises. And one more thing, a silver key, duct taped to the lid. My stomach twisted. None of this made sense. I never took these photos. I'd never even seen that key. And yet, they were in my basement. I took the box upstairs, sat it on the table, and stared at it until sunrise. At 6:47 a.m., her phone buzzed. One new text. From Chloe. Just one word. Stop. The message froze me. Just one word, stop. No punctuation. No context. Sent from Chloe's number. At dawn. I called back instantly. Straight to voicemail. Again. I texted. Where are you? What's going on? Are you okay? No reply. I looked at the photos again, the lighting, the angles. Some of them had timestamps scribbled on the back in red ink. One was dated 2 weeks ago. Another, last Thursday. Thing is, I wasn't home last Thursday. I was on a business trip in Austin. Or at least, I thought I was. I opened my Google timeline. No location data for that day. None. Like my phone had been off. My inbox confirmed I had booked a hotel. But when I called the front desk, they said no one by my name had checked in. No records. No charges. A blank day. I looked in the mirror. Something in my own face felt unfamiliar. Like I was trying to remember a role I once played and forgot the lines. I needed answers. I drove to Chloe's office. The receptionist, a bored 20-something with bubblegum pink nails, looked me up and down. "She doesn't work here anymore," she said, not even glancing up. "What do you mean? Since when?" She shrugged. "Couple months. She quit out of nowhere. We figured she got sick or something." She hadn't told me that. I drove back home in silence, heart hammering like a war drum. My hands wouldn't stop shaking on the wheel. When I walked through the front door, I saw it. On the hallway table. The key. Not in the box. Not where I left it. It was standing upright. On its teeth. Balanced. Like someone had placed it there, waiting for me to see it. I turned around, expecting someone behind me. Nothing. But then the front door slammed shut and locked. I stood frozen by the door, my back against it, the key still vibrating slightly where it stood, as if recently placed. I didn't remember leaving it there. Hell, I didn't remember even taking it out of the box. I picked it up. It felt warm. Like it had just been in someone's hand. My own skin went cold. I was unraveling. But not in the way people mean when they're stressed or overtired. This was something deeper. Like reality was starting to fracture, and I wasn't sure what side of it I was on. That night, I set up cameras around the house. One in the living room, one near the basement, and one facing the hallway where the key had been. I couldn't trust my memory anymore. I needed proof. Evidence. I didn't sleep. Just sat on the couch, staring at the basement door like it might open on its own. At 3:39 a.m., I blinked. Not slept. Just blinked. And suddenly, it was 6:12 a.m. The sun was rising. 3 hours gone. I checked the footage, hands trembling. Living room blank. No movement. Basement cam, still. Hallway cam. I stopped breathing. At 4:06 a.m., I walked into frame. I was wearing different clothes. Gray hoodie. Dark jeans. Same face, but my eyes looked off. Like there was no one inside them. I watched myself walk to the table, place the key upright with disturbing precision, then turned toward the camera. I smiled. And the screen went black. No glitch. Just cut out. I replayed it 20 times. Same smile. Same empty gaze. I don't remember doing that. I swear I don't. I checked my bedroom. Closet door open. Floor covered in dirt, like someone had tracked it in from outside. On the bed, a note, written in my own handwriting. "You weren't supposed to look in the box." I couldn't ignore it anymore. Not the gaps in my memory. Not the video. Not the way I smiled at the camera like some hollow imitation of myself. I had to find the lock that matched the key. I turned the key over in my hand all morning, searching every drawer, cabinet, shed, and lockbox in the house. Nothing. I even tried the mailbox and the old safe we never used. It didn't fit anything. Until I flipped the key and saw the engraving I'd missed before. Tremont 206. Tremont was a motel off Highway 22, old, grimy, mostly abandoned since the bypass got built. Chloe and I had driven past it dozens of times. Never once stopped. I drove straight there. The parking lot was empty except for a rusted truck and a woman sitting on the curb smoking with one bare foot up on her knee. She barely looked at me as I approached the office. The man behind the glass didn't ask for ID when I showed him the key. "Room 206, he said, nodding. "Been paid up for months." My mouth went dry. "By who?" He blinked. "You, man." Room 206 was at the far end of the second floor, blinds drawn. I unlocked the door and stepped into a room that smelled like bleach and cigarettes. Inside, the air was wrong. Heavy with memory. On the bed was another box. Inside it, a spiral notebook. Chloe's real journal. I recognized her handwriting instantly. First page. If you're reading this, you've remembered too much. I tried to keep you safe. I tried to lock the other version of you away. But he's slipping through again. You're both real. And only one of you can survive. The room tilted around me. I had to sit. The next entry chilled me to the bone. He was born the night you hit me. You don't remember that, do you? You blacked out. But something else woke up. He watches me through your eyes. And he loves me in ways you never would. I closed the notebook. I didn't know who I was anymore. But I was starting to wonder if Chloe had been hiding from me all along. I drove home from the Tremont Motel in silence, the notebook on the passenger seat like a bomb ticking beside me. Every word I'd read felt like a blade sliding under my skin. A second version of me? Born from violence? Watching her? The worst part was, I couldn't prove it wasn't true. Back at the house, I went straight to the bathroom and stared at myself in the mirror. Stared hard. Waiting to see something move. Flicker. Change. But my reflection only stared back. Calm. Controlled. Too controlled. Like it was trying not to give something away. That night, another note appeared. Folded neatly on the nightstand. I hadn't written it. But it was still in my handwriting. Stop searching. She's safe or gone. You're not built to know the truth. No signature. No date. I grabbed my phone and tried Chloe's number again. It rang once. Then cut off. A second later, a new text appeared. Not from her. From an unknown number. She left you a failsafe. Check the vent in your office. My heart dropped. I ran to the office, moved the bookshelf, unscrewed the vent cover. Inside, a flash drive. No label. I plugged it into my laptop with shaking hands. One folder. Titled, Watch This When He Wakes Up. Inside, a single video. I played it. Chloe. Sitting in the motel room. Pale. Hollow-eyed. Speaking into the camera like it was the last thing she'd ever do. If you're seeing this, it means the other version of you has slipped through again. You won't remember what he's done. You never do. He doesn't want you to know what happened to me. What he did. But I left a trail. I had to. Find the red door. The screen went black. Then flickered. Just one frame. A photo. My backyard. And something I'd never noticed before. In the woods, just beyond the tree line. A door. Painted red. Standing alone. Waiting. I stood at the edge of the woods for what felt like an hour. The red door wasn't connected to anything. No frame. No building. Just a door, upright in the soil like it had grown out of the earth itself. It shouldn't have been there. I'd mowed that section of the backyard dozens of times. And yet now, it stood like it had always been. The paint was chipped. Rust bloomed on the handle. My name was carved into the wood. I reached out and turned the knob. It opened without a sound. Behind it, stairs. Leading down. Not into the ground exactly, but into something darker. Space bent there. Time bent. The light faded, even though it was still early afternoon. I stepped through and closed the door behind me. There were no lights. Only faint glows from old bulbs along the wall, flickering like they didn't want to remember what they'd seen. At the bottom, a room. Bare. Concrete walls. A single metal chair in the center. On it, a manila envelope. My hands shook as I opened it. Inside were photos. Documents. Medical records. From my past. Psychiatric holds. Blackout reports. A hospital file stamped. Dissociative identity disorder, unstable manifestation. Then a photo. Of Chloe. Her face bruised. Her expression blank. Standing in front of me. But the date, it was from 4 years ago. And I had no memory of that day. Behind the envelope on the floor was something else. A mirror, propped up against the wall. I caught my reflection. But it wasn't me. It was him. Same face. But colder. Harder. His smile wasn't mine. And then the mirror spoke, not out loud, but inside me. A thought I didn't own. She tried to erase me. She failed. And now you've let me back in. My knees buckled. I dropped the envelope. Fell forward. And in the concrete, scratched into the floor, were the words. She never left. She's just locked deeper than you're willing to go. I don't know how long I lay there. The mirror stayed still, but I could feel him, the other me, pacing behind my eyes, waiting. Not hiding anymore. Just watching. Something snapped in my mind then, like a door I'd nailed shut finally splintered. The noise wasn't loud. Just final. I saw everything. The night Chloe left. The real one. She hadn't disappeared. She'd tried to run. With help. Her sister, a burner phone, a plan to vanish. She'd left the journal trail in case I ever woke up again, the version of me that wasn't him. The man I'd been before things went dark. But he found out. The last memory hit me like a train. Her at the top of the stairs. Me or him, shouting. Grabbing her arm. She pulled away. Fell. The sound of her skull on the bottom step. And silence. Then the calm voice, the one in the mirror, whispering. We can't let that be what you remember. He buried it. He buried her. Not a body, a person. Buried in memory. In locked doors. In rewritten footage and missing time. The basement. Not the red door. The furnace. I ran back up the tunnel, through the red door, across the yard, through the house, and down. The heat hit me first. The smell second. I pried open the panel behind the furnace. And there she was. Alive. Barely. Eyes swollen shut, lips cracked, but breathing. She looked at me like she wasn't sure which version of me she was seeing. Chloe, I whispered. She flinched. I raised my hands, slow, shaking, tears falling. I'm me. I'm me. She didn't speak. Just stared. Like she'd already buried every piece of hope she'd ever had. And maybe she had. I called 911. Sat by her side, waiting for sirens, for blue lights, for anything that would anchor this back in reality. They took her. I watched the ambulance leave. They didn't arrest me. Not yet. Because he buried everything well. But not perfectly. So I'm writing this now. While I still remember. Before the mirror version of me wakes up again and decides this never happened. If you're reading this, and you've ever lost time, check your basement. And never trust the man in the mirror when he smiles too easily. The end.